Hello, Inside Lowell. This is Jomarie Buckley, and I am coming to you today with Inside Tewksbury with Jomarie Buckley. It's our very first edition of this episode, and we are at the WellPoint Studios. WellPoint is the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. So today, I figured with the maiden voyage, I first wanted to address the name change. When Teddy had interviewed me to kind of launch this podcast, we had talked about it being Tewksbury Together, which is the organization that I've started in Tewksbury. And just to kind of keep the branding separate and to make sure the organization is separate from what I'm doing here, we decided to brand with Inside Lowell and make this Inside Tewksbury with Jomarie Buckley. Today, though, for my very first edition, I've invited Kristen Keane to join me because she is one of my executive board members of Tewksbury Together. And it's our passion project, and I thought this was a great way to start this podcast, this series of bringing Tewksbury kind of out to the masses. And I have to say, I'm going to start by saying it's very weird to call you Kristen. So I'm going to disclose to the audience that I met Kristen and her husband Todd a million years ago when my children and then myself went to her dojo to learn karate. So if I slip into Shidoshi, it's because that's what we've always called her, because that's who she is to us. So I'm going to try to call you Kristen, but I'm probably going to slip into that.
That's okay.
So Kristen is the owner with her husband Todd of the Academy of Traditional Karate in Wilmington, just in the interest of full disclosure. And I think at this point I've known you, so Patrick was 3 when he was a little dragon.
Yes.
So, and he's 21. So 18 years later,
Yep.
I've dragged you into this situation. So thank you so much for coming today.
My pleasure. Glad to be here.
So I wanted to start, and I know I apologize because Kristen had actually asked if I would give her some speaking points about what we were talking about in typical Jomarie fashion. I said, yeah, sure. And then she came in totally in the blind. So I apologize, but not really, because this is my favorite conversation to have is when you don't know what's coming next.
Excellent. As long as it's not a quiz after, I'm good.
No quiz. And I told you it was going to be positive stuff. We're talking Tewksbury Together today. We're not going to get into the politics of Tewksbury. We're not going to get into any nitty gritty stuff today. It's going to be a feel good holiday edition.
Excellent.
And we're going to talk about our event coming up for sure. So the first thing I wanted to do, though, is so you could kind of introduce yourself to the people out there. Longtime Tewksbury resident.
Yes, grew up in Tewksbury, born and raised.
Excellent. What brought you? I know we have some other history that kind of like parallel before we actually met. So if you want to let people know kind of what you did educationally and how that led you to owning a dojo.
Sure. So I grew up in Tewksbury. I'm a graduate of Tewksbury High School, went on to college and studied at Merrimack College. I was as a high school student, I was very involved in student government, a lot of volunteering. And as I got into college, I didn't run any organizations, but did a lot of volunteering there as well. And from the time that I was young, I was doing karate, and was one of those things that as you decide on your career path, somebody once said, if you could follow your passion and make money doing that, you would, you'd be a much happier person. So rather than going into something in the medical field or the business world, which was my intention, I gave, working at the dojo a try. And ended up loving it. So hence many years later, my husband started the karate school, and that's how we met. But he's celebrating 35 years, and I've been a part of the school for 34 and a half years. So really long
pretty
time.
early on.
Yeah, so really early on. So, and it was something that I ended up loving doing and wouldn't change it for the world. So, ended up making that my career.
Awesome. So that's why I say parallel, because I think we both kind of grew up with volunteerism and community service, just kind of ingrained from our parents and from kind of what we chose to do in our early lives. And what I loved about the dojo and you and Todd, which sounds crazy to say his name, is that you kind of promote that with your students as well.
Right.
So kind of fast forward to when we were going as students, you were also very supportive of the organization that I had in Wilmington, as well as other, like the Wilmington Educational Foundation. I know you guys were always very supportive of that. So when I came to Tewksbury 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago, we reconnected. And I think, it would be interesting to get your perspective of kind of those early conversations of Tewksbury together, just because I know kind of
Sure.
how I felt about it. And I
Yeah.
probably steamrolled you a little bit in those conversations. But what kind of drew you to the idea?
Well, it's one of those things where, like you said, we reconnected definitely a little bit because when you were at the dojo, we saw each other every week. And
Mhm.
when I worked with your kids, saw each other all the time. And then there was a little piece of time that I think all of us adults run into where you miss seeing each other and just don't have time in your lives to take time out for each other. So when I found out you were in Tewksbury and we connected, we talked about a few things. And one of the things that you said right at the beginning was, I have this idea. And Joe always has ideas.
True
And
story.
if somebody needs any help, she's the first one in line to get it done and usually do it under the
I was gonna
radar.
say, you're
So
there right there next to me usually.
without any fanfare and like, let's just get it done. Many hands make light work. So,
Yeah.
and you had mentioned that to me and you said, so I'm going to tap you in the future and I want you to remember me telling you this. And I
Yes.
believe those were your exact
Probably.
words.
Yes,
And
probably.
you just had a great sense of wanting to do something to involve the community, but not just sections of the community. Like our kids are now older. Your
Hmm.
youngest is in high school and mine is in college. And I think you sometimes lose that connection in your community when you're not involved in the schools and getting all the information about maybe what's needed or what your kids are volunteering for. So I loved your thought process in trying to kind of bridge all age levels, getting students to volunteer, involving the senior center, and just the general community, even if you didn't have children in school.
Right. No,
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. And I think just kind of for the purpose of information here, since Tewksbury Together is newer,
Mm-hmm.
the whole purpose of this organization, hopefully, is going to be to engage kind of more residents and community organizations to want to do volunteerism and community service. I think one of the things that we both learned in our own experiences as children, growing into the adults that we both are, which I think are impressive, I'll say. I think we're both pretty impressive people, if I do say so myself. Um, is that that component of your childhood and that component of your family, I think, helps to build kind of that next generation. And so that's something I
Right.
learned. I think that you learned as well from your own family experiences, and to engage it. And I think this is the time when we should mention the absent member of the board,
Yes.
Robert Hayes, who does not want to be recorded and is very reluctant to participate. I think
We're
we
missing him
I won't
today.
say we intimidate him, because you're adorable and very sweet and kind and loving and nurturing, but I think I probably intimidated him with the idea of coming on today. But he was actually the one when I first came to Tewksbury, because
Yeah.
I've known him for quite some time as well. And I said to him, listen, it's not too often in life that you get to kind of not so much reinvent yourself, but to get to choose again. You get to kind of shelve some of the things that you've become over 20 years in one town, and you get to say, okay, now I get to pick and choose what really excites me still.
Right.
And he had said, Jomarie, Tewksbury doesn't have this organization.
Right.
It was similar to an organization I had started in Wilmington. And he said, if you want to do something like that, if that's a need, and that would be great. And that's why I tapped him in as well. And I said, okay, if I'm going to do it, you have to help me do it. But the reality is this organization, the purpose of this organization, hopefully, is going to be to engage all age groups,
Right.
from children, families with young children, to senior citizens, to do more community service, to do other types of activities that help to support the community. I mean, right now Tewksbury is amazing in all of the organizations that already exist,
Mm-hmm.
to open space, and they have all kinds of town cleanup days, and it's a really amazing town, and the niches that are engaged already. But I think it's kind of, let's now bring them together.
Right.
And so that, I think, is kind of what we both believe. And Robert, if you will speak for him since he's not here, believes, our goal and our motivation is to really try to engage, beyond kind of the schools and the sports, to engage community members who might not otherwise be engaged. And
Right.
it's still, my motto at the Wilmington organization was, one small act of kindness um, can create a lot of change. And I'm kind of modifying that for Tewksbury, because it's not trademarked, but I just don't feel comfortable using the exact same thing. But I do think if we can engage enough of the community to just do one or two small things, it
Right.
creates such a big change.
Yeah.
So with that being said, one of the things I wanted to ask you about is kind of as you look forward with this organization and kind of the things that we hope to accomplish, what are some of the things that you hope that we're working on over the next, 5 years?
Oh, that's a good question.
Right.
Well, I think just getting to be a part of something like this at first, it feels like, okay, I'll do that. And maybe they'll do it and I'll follow along.
Yeah.
And then once you start talking to people and learning about what means, what community service means to other people, I think it's a little bit, not a little bit, but it's a lot of it inspiring. We did a small little event where we did a collection day for the Tewksbury Community Pantry. We did it for I don't even know if I know the name properly, but the Wilmington and Tewksbury animal
The pet food pantry. I think it's Wilmington Pet Food Pantry, but they actually support
service Tewksbury
as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, Tewksbury's name isn't in it. So sorry if I fumbled that. But and then we did the candy for the Tewksbury State Hospital, not only for the patients but for the folks that work there too.
Right.
And as we were picking up things from people's car, it was a little drive by, some people came by and they said, thank you for doing this. And I was like, well, I'm not really doing anything. I'm taking your things and we're going to just make sure they get to the right people. So I think that's exciting. And I hope that as we kind of progress forward and come up with things to do, that people have a real sense of, yes, just participating a little bit at whatever level that you can participate, can make a difference. And then I think to get people to understand that if you're part of something like Tewksbury Together, at whatever level that you're able to be a part of, you're still part of the team.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great thing to point out is, I always, and I think it's not just me, people reference time, treasure, or talent, right? So like the hope is that you get to a point in your life where you're able to give your time, your treasure, your talent, and or your talent.
Right.
And I think that one of the things that I've learned, and I think it sounds like, you're also saying is important is, people don't seem to realize that it doesn't need to be a huge give. It could be something as easy as donating a pack of pencils, or it could be something, $10, or it could be giving your time. Like one of the things we have coming up is, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, the Winterfest.
Right.
And we started planning this super late, and we, by right,
yes, we did.
Really, I couldn't believe it when you and Robert agreed that we should still try it for this year when we were meeting in October.
There is such a thing as peer pressure. So, and I'm generally not one to say no. So,
fantastic. Well, that's good to know. Noted for future reference. I also have a problem saying no.
Yeah.
But it was exciting to me, even if we were starting late and we were calling this year zero, and it's kind of a soft launch of this, because we were giving people the opportunity to maybe give their time if they couldn't do other things, and they can volunteer on that day. And that's exciting to have, I think, as we build more of those opportunities and people as you said, seeing people thank us for doing something as simple as posting on Facebook that we're doing a drive, and not realizing that they're doing all the heavy lifting. We're literally just putting something on Facebook and showing up to collect it. And I think that's what's always kind of amazing to me is those moments, how small you think they are, and then they can mushroom into something bigger. And I have to say, and Teddy has heard me in my intro, Tewksbury State Hospital is very near and dear to me. I'm on the board of trustees there. In the interest of full disclosure, that was one of the things when I moved to Tewksbury that I knew I wanted to get involved in, because in my professional life, I had people who had been there as patients. I had people who had been at the programs that exist on their campus and all the great work they do with zero resources. In this event on December 14th that we're planning, to see the staff support it and be so excited at the idea that in a time when kind of social media is, kind of fear-mongering their campus and where they work and what they do and what their passion is, we're saying, you know what, we're having an event here. We're having a community event here, and we hope everyone comes. I dropped off Christmas lights earlier this week because they wanted to decorate the outside of the building for us.
Which is so
And
nice.
yeah, and every time, I check in with them, it's always like, what else can we do? How else can we help? And it's just, and that's where the community starts, I think, and I challenge people to say that it can't start at a place like the hospital, because their community there is amazing. And I think we're going to see that. And I hope people come on the 14th to see that themselves. So let's talk about that event.
Yes. So mark your calendars. Right. December 14th.
10 to 5. It's at the chapel, which is on the East Street entrance of the hospital. So you don't have to drive through the whole campus to get there. I know the campus can be confusing for people who haven't been on it before, but you come in the East Street entrance. And what we're doing, and again, it's a soft launch, and years to come, it's going to build. I keep reminding Robert that it's year 0 and not year 15.
Right.
We're having from 10 to 5, we're doing a raffle for the Festival of Trees component raffle. We're going to have, I just confirmed, if you can believe it, Santa from 10 to 5 in his busy schedule.
Very generous.
He's going to be there for the entire time. So he's going to pose for pictures with kiddos, families, pets, if people want to bring their pets. In the downtimes, he's agreed to participate in some of the reindeer games that we're going to have for kids to do, like snowball cornhole. Mrs. Claus is also making an appearance again during their busy season. So she's going to be from 12 to 2. Doing story time with the kids and helping them write letters to Santa.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing, just kind of again to promote the outreach component of our mission, we're going to be doing holiday cards for veterans, holiday cards for the Tewksbury State Hospital patients. We're also going to be collecting, we have 2 different donation drives going on. So we are going to do the pet food again for the Wilmington Pet Food Pantry, because Santa's going to pose with pets. So if you bring your dog for a picture, Bring some food.
Something.
Bring a little food for a dog.
Furry friend. Yes.
Yeah. And then for the state hospital, they've asked us if we could do a socks, shampoo, and soap drive.
Yep.
So we'll be collecting socks, shampoo, and soap as well. And there'll be other activities added, other fun stuff for the kiddos, for sure, between now and next week when it happens.
Yeah.
But the big, and I forgot to mention too, the Open Space Committee.
Oh, the walk
is going to be doing a winter walk from the chapel at 10 a.m. Into kind of some of the trails that are in that area. So that should be really fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if Santa will join that walk, but we'll see. Maybe if he wears the right footwear, maybe he'll want to be a part of the winter walk as well.
I'll have to send him a note.
Yeah. But we need people to get there. We still are collecting donations. If anyone wants to donate trees, they can email
info@tewksburytogether.org.
Okay.
Right.
Say that one more time without me talking over you.
info@tewksburytogether.org. So, and you can email us direct from our website or email us direct just using that particular address.
Yeah. And our website is www.tewksburytogether.org.
Exactly.
As well.
Right.
And if you're interested in joining, so there's no proper membership. It's really just following us on Facebook. If you don't have access to Facebook, you can email us your email address, and we're going to start working on an email distribution in the new year to kind of get outreach out there.
And we have a link on our website, so you can just click that and then you can put your information in. Perfect. Yes. Yeah.
So I guess my final question is, if you had a magic wand and Tewksbury Together could accomplish any 1 to 3 things. I'll give you a bandwidth, because there might not be a top priority. There might be kind of a bundle for you. What would be something you would hope the organization could accomplish in the that if you had a magic wand and there was no restrictions, either financially or whatever, that we could accomplish in the town to help support the town?
Oh, that's a good question.
Tough one, right?
See, you probably
hard
thought
hitting.
About
Jomarie Buckley is a hard hitting, feel good question.
Pressure. Well, I guess it's more of something specific. I'd have to think a little bit more about that. But just if we could get to the point where any event that we run, say it's this Festival of Trees or Winterfest that we're running, if we can, open so many doors that whatever we want to make part of it, we can accomplish it. So, for example, we've talked about with this Winterfest, and I personally would love to do this. Someday can we have some sort of Polar Express component or something like that but I don't want just like a little Polar Express, like we sit in a cardboard box in the, in the library or wherever we might be doing it. No, we want a trolley, we want a train, so, and I think things like that where you can bring families together and they can participate. And then as a side benefit, whether that be a fundraising component, a donation drive component, or a D, all of the above, if we can include that as part of it and just allow people to have a wonderful time, make memories, and then make a difference where we can say, hey, there's a real need for this in Tewksbury. And I'll be quite honest, sometimes I'm not really sure of the need, and I think, I consider myself fairly involved, but, I'll watch meetings, et cetera, online, but I don't, my level of understanding of where the need always is not 100% there because my kids aren't in the schools. Right. And, I do check websites and, watch select board meetings and things like that. But sometimes you feel like you're finding about information after the fact. Yep. So if we could be really proactive in the sense of finding out, hey, this is coming down the pike, this is what's needed for this to be successful. And if people could call us and say, hey, Tewksbury Together, we need your help. Right. And I want to bring the high school kids together with the senior center, and this is what we need, and some folks are in need of hats and mittens and this and that, and not to be constrained by either time or money. That's amazing. That would be great.
That's one of the things I think I learned in Wilmington is I expected that we would become kind of a community service group, and that we would, if someone needed, a veterans yard raked, that we might get called. But what was amazing to me is how quickly that grew into any time there was a need, we would get tapped in. And I see that happening for us in Tewksbury. I think once we kind of get a little bit more established, we literally just became officially existing in October. So I kind of am interested for us to have this conversation in a year, right, and see what we've been able to accomplish over the past year. But I know, one of my core beliefs is that no matter what's kind of going on in your own life, if you're doing outreach to other people and you're trying to do something to help other people, you naturally feel better. Sure. You know what I mean? It's one of those like boosts that I feel, and I've seen it happen, and we both know we've known each other long enough to know like life has its ups and downs.
Sure does.
And, yep. When you're low, like I remember some Christmases and, when my children were young, when I would be, stressed out and frustrated about how am I going to give them Christmas, all at the same time coordinating kind of Christmases for families in need through the organization. And that doing that work kind of helped me manage my own stress and
realize you a little bit, right?
And kind of give me a reality check. Like, hey, listen, I might not be able to give my kids the 10 things on their Santa list, but I can give them Christmas. And here I am putting together, and our organization is putting together Christmas for a family who's asking for diapers. Right. And so it kind of gives you that reality check. And I think that's important. I think we're in a time when it's even more important because people, naturally kind of look inward before they look outward. And I think our organization is going to help give them the ability to look outward without it being such a big deal. Right. Hopefully. And I can't wait. And I know the magic of kind of that. Like I remember one of the things I always kind of point to as the amazing component of giving is you don't necessarily know how things are going to line up, but they always seem to work out. And one of the early things of the Wilmington organization that always will stick with me is we reached out when things were new and just said, how can we help support your organization? Do you have a wish list? Do you have something that you would want? Mm-hmm. And the pantry in Wilmington, the director of that pantry had said, this is going to sound really weird, but I've always wanted, see that wall? I've always wanted a mural. Some type of Wilmington mural on that wall. And literally one of the board members said, I've always wanted to do a mural. I've always wanted to feel like my artwork was a part of a community. And so she did a beautiful mural on the wall. And it's like the weirdest dynamic, but it always seems to work out. And I can't wait to see that magic in Tewksbury as we're learning and reaching out and kind of engaging with other groups and people, that we identify the needs, because it is, you know, my kids aren't in the school system either. And I know that the Tewksbury schools does their own outreach.
Right.
And we have a community pantry that does outreach for kind of those clients. We have a great senior center that does a lot of work with them. But once we check in with them, I think we're going to start to uncover maybe the groups that aren't engaged in those 3 groups.
Right.
And that's where we can start. And that's when it's going to be exciting.
Yeah. Bring them together and like fill the gaps, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think for sure. So I asked you the hard-hitting questions. I've asked you the softball questions. Is there anything else you would want the people watching this to know about Tewksbury Together?
Well, I would say, you know, we're brand new, right? So we could use your help. So,
Yeah.
and help doesn't mean that we need a particular financial donation or a particular tree donation or whatever, but we all know people. So if you know somebody that you think would be, that could donate a little something for our raffle, or if you know friends and family that live in Tewksbury, let them know December 14th, come out and see us between 10 and 5 and come have fun with Santa.
Yeah.
Feel free to bring your pet and take some photos with him, and come and participate in our raffle and just help us with our year 0, you know,
Right.
kickoff to at least get, you know, a little bit of seed started so that we can then move into 2025 with a bit more opportunity for the people of Tewksbury.
Right. So that's one of the questions that has been asked that I think is a great way to kind of close out this discussion is, what are the funds going to be used for? So any raffle funds that we raise, any funds raised at December 14th is going to go into our treasury for outreach. So that's the whole goal of 2025, is to really identify what outreach is needed to help support other organizations. It might be something as simple as the schools asking us to do care packages for the nurses. It could be that the pantry, you know, the community pantry is asking us to maybe do something for their Thanksgiving distribution. It could be that we're putting together our own kind of care packages for the senior center. So that the funds are going to be used for those types of ideas, to go right back into the community. We're not looking to build up a significant treasury. We're looking at whatever we collect to get it right back out there, and identify those needs. So the website again is www.tewksburytogether.org.
Right.
We're on Facebook. Information about the December 14th event, Teddy says he'll post as well on Inside Lowell. And we will have it on our Facebook page and our website.
Right.
And if anyone has any interest in joining us in the new year, definitely reach out as well. It's going to be fun.
Yes, that would be great.
All right. So this is Jomarie Buckley with the very first episode of Inside Tewksbury with Jomarie Buckley at the WellPoint Studios. And we wish you guys all great and happy holidays. And we hope to see you on December 14th and beyond. Thanks, Teddy, for producing today, too.
Great job.